Hi Venters, I hope you guys are having a good day. Ladies, I want you to picture yourself at the ripe old age of 23. I know you're thinking, oh my God, that was a long time ago. Yes, it was. But remember when you were 23, you and 2 or 3 of your girlfriends would be coming back from a night at the club. 2 of you were really shit-faced, but luckily you guys had a designated driver, even though you probably didn't. Let's say you did, just for argument's sake. Your designated driver drops you and your girlfriend off at your apartment. You guys go in, and next thing you know, your girlfriend, who's been a best friend of yours for the last year and a half, literally starts touching you inappropriately and hitting on you. Today I was watching one of my favorite YouTubers. His name is Anton Daniels. Here's a picture of him. On his show today, he was doing a reaction to a woman that was describing a situation that apparently happens quite often, but doesn't really have any pub. If a guy gets a girl drunk, and slowly but surely, whether it's over the course of a day or over the course of many years, breaks down her defenses, waiting for that one day where he has a chance to take advantage and become her boyfriend, we kind of frown upon that and we say, hey, that's kind of predatory. Even though back in the day we would say, hey, date your friend, become their friend first, right? But either way, we can kind of see how if you go into a relationship with an agenda as a man, it doesn't look good. But here's the problem that this girl named Anya's World, that's her TikTok handle, Anton was saying that what he noticed is that if a woman does this, nobody talks about it. And that's what the woman's video was about.
If you are a woman and you purposely befriend other women with the intentions to eventually sleep with them, you're a predator.
How come there are so many women that claim they're straight, they might even have a husband at home, but when they're out with their girlfriends getting drunk, before you know it, they're hitting on their girlfriends?
There's this weird phenomenon in women and female and girl friendships where a woman will be on the DL, or she might be bi, and she will befriend other women that she finds attractive. But when she approaches that woman, instead of her being honest about her intentions, she approaches her like she wants to be her homegirl and build this sisterhood.
If you know that your girlfriend is straight and you're going out of your way in a moment of weakness for your friend to try to get her to turn gay or to get turned out, as they say, that's predatory. Here's the reason it's an interesting topic. It does happen a lot, I'm sure of it, because you see videos with women, they do talk about it, but you never ever hear about these women getting in trouble.
Then you get comfortable with the girl, and then one day you guys are out, you're drinking, you're having fun, and this is somebody that you trust to be drunk around, and next thing you know, that girl is touching you inappropriately. She's trying to kiss you, she's trying to coerce you.
If you have any lesbians in your life that you're friends with, maybe you can let us know down in the comments. Have you ever noticed them hitting on other girls? When they do hit on other girls, do they purposely like to go for the straight girls? Because we all know that deep down, the straight girls are still prettier, right, ladies? So anyway, I've actually met a couple of studs through my life that were co-workers that would purposely hit on new girls that came in to work with us because they were pretty and because they were straight.
But you guys are purposely preying on women who you know don't swing that way, with hopes in turning them out.
And here's a real question that'll blow your mind, guys. In a world where we're taught to believe everything women say when it comes to things happening to them, who do we believe? Do we believe the woman that's hitting on the person? Or do we believe the woman that's getting hit on by her friends? Another thing is, when you're completely shit-faced and drunk, you're very vulnerable. Are these women actually asking permission before they put the moves on their friends? Or are they just touching first, asking questions last?
Just think about it. If a man was out here trying to befriend women, make it seem like a genuine friendship, and the moment that woman gets drunk and gets comfortable, he tries to make his move, y'all know that those men get labeled as predators, and oftentimes they go to jail. So if you're a woman and you're doing that to other women, you're a weirdo.
That's what's kind of scary about alcohol. I wonder how many men have been shit-faced and their male friends might have done something to them. God, that's a nightmare. I bet you some of you guys listening to this have thought, oh my God, I used to drink a lot. I hope that never happened to me. Holy moly.
But why don't you seek out women who have the same viewpoint as you, instead of trying to like manipulate women into like sleeping with you?
I used to get drunk back in, when you were in your 20s, but I never got drunk to the point where I was, sleeping at friends' houses and gross shit like that. Holy moly. That is a nightmare. That's the real interesting thing. If I could take you guys in a time machine back to 1995, I almost sound like Marty from Back to the Future, but if I could take you guys into a time machine, I think you young people would be shocked. There was like 0 lesbians. There were gay guys. They weren't a ton, but there were gay guys. There was actually a movie called Doing Time on Maple Drive. It's a movie with Jim Carrey. If you ever get a chance to watch that, Mala, you gotta watch that. It's about a guy that's actually getting married to this absolute gorgeous girl, but he's secretly gay, and the movie is about him coming to terms with the idea that he's getting married to a woman when he knows deep in his heart he's gay. Again, great movie if you guys check it out. It's called Doing Time on Maple Drive, and Jim Carrey plays this guy's brother. And there's a couple moments in there where you just look at Jim Carrey and you think he's super talented, because this is before he became a super big actor. And anyway, make a long story short, I think there is something to this topic. I think there are female predators out there. As a matter of fact, we've talked on this show a lot about these male students that have been influenced by females. So here's my question for you guys. Do you remember back in the day we were told that women think about sex maybe a handful of times throughout the day, but we were also told, again, this is by those experts and the scientists, we were told that men think about sex like 500 to 1,000 times a day. Remember, do you guys remember that? It was some crazy, ludicrous number. And I always knew it was bullshit, because if you're thinking about sex 1,000 times a day, you're not thinking about schoolwork, you're not thinking about your job, you're not even thinking about eating or drinking. Nobody thinks about sex that much, no matter how sex addicted you are. But they used to try to tell us that women had very few sexual thoughts throughout the day, while men had an infinite number. Now, the reason I bring this up is very simple. I have a feeling something has changed. I wouldn't be surprised if those numbers have completely flipped. I wouldn't be surprised if your average woman, at least a young woman, maybe not a menopausal woman, but a younger woman, they're probably thinking about sex hundreds of times a day now. And young men, well, based on the numbers, I am always hearing how they're all single and shit, they're probably not thinking about sex hardly at all. There's something weird. It's almost like all the boys became girls while all girls became boys. God, the only way that could happen is if the devil himself actually planted a spell on our asses. God, wouldn't that be crazy if you found out that's what happened with this world? That all these male souls went into female bodies and all these female souls went into male bodies? I know it sounds horrible to say that, but that's how it feels sometimes. So again, here's the question. Do you guys think women actually think about sex way more than men do nowadays? I think so. But if any of you guys have had to deal with friends of yours that started hitting on you back in the day after you got a couple drinks in you, let us know down below. And here's the second part to that question. Do you feel like there was an agenda behind it? Do you feel like they wanted you to get drunk so that they could start hitting on you? If you're brave enough to share that, let me know. I can tell you one thing, at least for this guy, I never ever felt like my buddies were trying to get me drunk so that they could take advantage of me and have sex with me. That is disgusting. It truly is. And if that's something that women are doing nowadays, or men, that shit needs to stop immediately. I do consider that predatory. That's why I walk. It's depressing when I think about all those lesbians getting that sweet tail. Oh my goodness. At one Cooter Brown says, I'm 38. Women have been doing this since I was in high school. It was the studs turning them out. To be honest, if you're so-called straight and let women turn you out, you already was open to women doing this to you. I think there's a lot of truth there, don't you guys? See, that's what blows me away about today's world. I go out to the mall and it looks like 1 out of every 3 or 4 people looks like they're probably part of the LGBTQ community. Do I know for sure? No, I'm not asking them. I'm just going based on their look, right? Because sometimes people look outwardly, gayish. And when I was growing up, you just didn't see that at all. Even if guys were gay, if you saw 2 guys walking in the mall together, correct me if I'm wrong, people, didn't you just assume they were buddies or roommates? You never thought that's 2 boyfriends together. And you never ever heard one man refer to another man as his husband. I'm not saying anything about it, good or bad. I'm just saying it's so weird how just 25 or 30 years ago, I felt like the amount of population, like the percentage, it seemed like 1 out of every 10 guys was gay, and it seemed like 1 out of every 40 or 50 women were. And now it seems like more like 1 out of every 3 guys and 1 out of every 4 or 5 women. Like, it seems really like high numbers to me. If you take a step back and you look at these arguments, these are really male arguments. And what I mean by that is these are male arguments, even though it's coming from a woman in this case. Men want women to be treated equally when it comes to laws and courts and what's right and wrong. Women want to be treated equally when it comes to making money in the workforce. At least that's how it comes across to me. The reality is there are some women out there that do some unscrupulous things when it comes to their sexual appetites. Men are the same way. They should probably both be treated poorly. If you are a woman and you have a friend that's a female and she's done these horrible predatory things to you, you should try to be strong and do the right thing. And I think you should tell somebody about it and potentially tell the authorities about it. Because here's the thing, we already know that when people turn a blind eye and just let these things happen and don't come forward, there's more and more victims that pile up. And if you know of a girl that's willing to get people totally drunk and totally wasted on drugs just so that she can sleep with them, especially if she knows in advance that they're straight, guys, there's something kind of evil about that. There really is. At 20 Kool-Aid Kid says these women will never be held accountable and called predators as soon as they do some weird or uncomfortable stuff. You're right, they're not. As a matter of fact, girls are the only creatures on the planet that can get away with making out with other women, and most people can still consider them straight. Isn't that weird? No guy in the world can go make out with a dude and then tell us he's straight. That shit ain't gonna fly. But for some reason, we allow women to do it. What's crazy is when I was in my early 20s, if you saw 2 women kissing, it was usually because they knew that the guys liked it. Now you see 2 women kissing, and it's literally because they like it. It's just like that song says, I kissed a girl and I liked it or whatever. DeAndre R3J says, they've been doing it forever. I'm done trying to protect people who don't listen. DeAndre, thank you for being the arbiter of protection. I don't know if AD knows this or not, but one of his viewers that leaves comments considers himself the protection for all people that don't listen. At Patty Souza 2954 says, I'm an older woman and I learned this when I was in the Army, and it was quite a shock to me. The first couple of times it happened, I thought they were joking, but it didn't take me long to realize that they were serious, and you had to be careful how you responded. Yeah, could you imagine that? You're with two girls, ladies. So there's three of you. And all of a sudden they're kissing and pretending like it's no big deal, right? And they're saying, hey, give me a kiss. I want to see how you kiss, Becky. And all of a sudden, all three of you girls are basically being lesbians. That's how this shit happens. I think a lot of times girls do get peer pressured. Peer pressure exists in the world. I think what you ought to do is, if you're a straight person, I think you ought to let your friends know, don't ever try that junk with me when you're drunk. I don't look at alcohol as a green light for excuses. And I think men are the same way. I guess the world is really weird. When I was younger, what kept me on the straight and narrow path in life was I did not want to go to jail because of all the gay stuff I heard that went on in jail. That seemed like the last place that a straight guy should want to go. And even nowadays, I look at these people and I look at how they're so willing to argue with cops, they're so willing to get in trouble, and they're so willing to go spend a couple of years of their life with some dude in a cell, and it just comes across as like really gay. Comes across as like, what the hell is going through young people's minds? And then with women, it's the same way. And it's just really weird. It's like, you can't talk about these things, otherwise people think, well, you're against the LGBTQ community. It's not that at all. It's just, I look at it and I say, it looks to me like some sort of alien beings are attacking us by flipping switches in us internally, where all of a sudden we are nothing like what we were just 25 or 30 years ago. It's not like I'm 150 years old and I'm telling you about how men and women used to date back in the 1800s. This was 20 or 30 years ago. There were no gay women. Yes, there were, Jesse. There always have been. Bob, 1 out of 20, if that. Now, if we had to throw a number on it, it's like 1 out of 4 or 5 women lean this way. And it's just weird. Here's the thing. Back in the day, we used to be taught that in order to befriend a woman and to try to get a girlfriend, you have to try to be a friend. You have to try to be a decent human being. Now those same techniques will get you listed as a pervert. Now you're expected to meet a girl by swiping left or swiping right. I wish the world wasn't like that. I wish it was still one where we met people, gave them a chance in the form of dating them before we jumped in the sack with them. To be honest, it's not like we dated them very long before we jumped in the sack with them, but there used to be a way of doing things that's just totally gone now. That's why when men get divorced in their 40s and 50s, they don't know what to do with themselves because they're not used to dating with their cell phone. They're used to meeting people. I think the world we live in is a really confused world. I would love to know your guys' thoughts on this, and if you do leave comments, please leave respectful comments. Have a great night. Keep walking. We'll see you tomorrow.